Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly team call. This is Kristen with our Odyssey to Gems amazing team. And tonight we have something fun and a little different for you guys. Amanda Foster, who is a rock star silver ambassador on our team, and also the youngest member on our team. She is 19. Is that right? Yeah, 19. Going to be a sophomore in college. And she is just amazing. This woman, this young woman, is all about her future. She has written down multiple times that she will be the youngest person in Plexus that is to reach the level jewel of Emerald. And so she has 2 years to make that happen, and I have a little under 2 years to make that happen. And there is never been more confidence in my mind before that this lady can make it happen. She is definitely a rock star, and she is committed, and she is consistent, and be prepared to feel terrible about yourself if you ain't doing your DMO, because she can do it, okay? All right, y'all, it works. So Amanda is going to talk to us about a convention. We had these breakout sessions that were fantastic, and they were specialized or focused on different levels of where you were at in Plexus. So Amanda went to the Silver Ambassador training and had some awesome speakers. So she's going to take our huddle tonight and going to talk about that. And before I hand it over to her, I am going to be posting a little incentive this month. So check out Odyssey to Gems for that, because it's going to be like a jackpot type thing. For every ambassador we sign this month, I'm putting $5 into a pot. And the person that signs the most ambassadors will get 70% of that pot, and the other 30% will be divided between 2 other ambassadors on our team, just by randomly drawing who add to the pot. So you add an ambassador, then you have an opportunity to get your money back along with all the other ambassadors we add. So taking advantage of that. That'll be fun. We've already added, I think, 2 ambassadors this month. So I will put $10 in that pot here tonight, and we will go from there. All right, without further ado, Amanda, you'll have to unmute yourself, and I will mute myself, and we cannot hear all the knowledge you have to give us, girl.
Thank you. That was a very nice introduction. It made me feel like very fancy when I'm really not that fancy. So for our silver training, it was in the Grand Arena at MGM. It was the biggest breakout session. There was, they said there was over 7,500 people in the silver training, and the number I thought was really cool. They prefaced like right at the beginning. Sarah Marble was our first speaker. She said that there were 7,500 people at the Dallas convention 3 years ago, and there was more people sitting in the silver training that day than there was at the original Dallas convention. So it was really cool just to be in that room thinking that like that's what the whole convention was before. And then this year it was 12,000. So it was really cool. And there's a ton of people, and there was a ton of people who had just joined. They said raise your hand if you signed in the last 30 days. And there were people who had just signed up, and there was probably a good 50 people that had signed up in the first 30 days, or in the last 30 days before convention. So there were a lot of new people, and it just shows that you can go to convention even if you are brand new. It doesn't mean that you have been in the company for a year or 2 years. You can go at day one if you really wanted to. So we had multiple speakers. We had Sarah Marble, Sheila Medina, I can't think of her name, Brenda Martin, something Folks, I don't remember. They were all Diamond Plus people, like a couple of them had re-entered. So all of them had such great knowledge to share, but Sarah Marble talked first, and she was talking all about the products and how to market the products. So a little background on her. It took her 7 months to go silver, which I identify with. Took me a while. Like, no matter how much I tried, Rebecca Folks is what Megan said. That was the other person. But Sarah Marble really did speak to a lot of people in the room that were sitting there that had been silver for a long time or had been trying to go gold for a very, very long time, and faced difficulties. And Sarah Marble's a diamond now, and it just shows that you can do, even if it takes you forever, if as long as you don't give up, you can go to the top of this company. But the main thing she stressed is when talking to people, make sure that you have like an elevator speech or a plan of what you're going to say, because every person's different. But if you know their struggles outright, like, they always complain about sleep, don't talk to them about their like IBS. Like, that's not going to associate, like, that's not going to be what they want to hear. And so when people are like, oh, I want to hear more about plexus, focus it to them. Don't try and like puke plexus. Tell them what they want to hear and what would work for them. And then once you got them in, once you like reeled them in a little bit, then you can tell them more about the products, more about the opportunity. The elevator speech that she always uses is someone says like, oh, what do you do? And like, for me, I get like the deer in headlights look, like, well, I work for plexus. They don't know what that is. No one, like, unless you've met someone who sells plexus, you don't know what plexus is. It's not a household name yet. It's getting there, but it's not yet. So she says, whenever someone walks up to her and is like, oh, what do you do? She says, I provide people with the opportunity to improve their health and wellness. So you don't say it's just a health and wellness company. Like, you say you provide people with the opportunity. So it gives people like, what is that? Like, but what do you do? Like, it gets them more interested, and giving people the fact that it's not like a weight loss thing. People don't, like, it's a health and wellness, and you give people wealth as well. So it's really like, it makes it more intriguing, and people are more likely to listen than just be like, oh, she sells plexus. I don't know what that is, but it's a health and wellness company. So it's really cool to just hear what she says versus what like the average person says, and that it's not necessarily something that's that different, but just the way she says it and the way she presents it is different than I had ever heard it. So that was one of my main takeaways from her. Some statistics, because you guys know I like my statistics. 20% of, this is just the 20-20-60 rule, and I don't know if all of you are familiar with this, but when approaching someone about plexus, 20% of people will say no when you bring it up. 20 people will say, this is amazing, sign me up, no questions asked, like, I want to do it. And then 60% of people can go either way. So those 60% is who you need to focus on, because that 20% that's going to say no, you're not going to convince them. There's really nothing you can say that's going to change their mind. Maybe one day, if something clicks with them and they say, oh yeah, Amanda or Tristan's diamond, I should probably listen to her now. She was probably right. Maybe that 20% will hit you then, but don't focus on them when you're trying to go gold or trying to go silver. It's not what's important. That 20% that's always going to say yes, awesome. Sign those people. Don't question them. Don't, if they're like, yeah, I want to sign up, don't try and say anything. Just go with it, and then talk to them later after they're paid the $34.95. But then the 60% is who you have to convince. So they're the ones that are like, I don't know, this might be for me, might not be, I don't really trust this yet. And they're going to take more convincing. So those are the people who are skeptical, and those are the people who are like, well, maybe, I don't really know, but maybe it might work. So those statistics are really cool, and just the fact that they broke it down. So then you start, like, when I was listening to that, I started thinking of the people who were like, who said no and just shut me down 100%, never going to do it. Doesn't matter if I'm making $1 million, they won't do it just because they don't believe in it. And then there's the people who are like, yeah, that works. Sure. I like health and wellness. Sure, I'll do that. And then there's that middle 60%, which is where a lot of my people fall. So I thought it was interesting to start categorizing them, and then you know how to approach them more. Let me see. I'm trying to find my notes. Okay, so our second speaker was Sheila Medina, and she kind of spoke more on how to talk to people as far as like the opportunity goes. and less about the products. So Sheila said, like, because Sheila is a classy lady and she knows how to talk to people, and she was in a network marketing company where she had to talk to people, and she has experience with that. So she said that there's 4 steps whenever you're talking to someone about Plexus. The first step is to ask questions. The second step, share benefits. Third step, answer questions. Fourth step, close the conversation. So she said one of the biggest things is listen before you speak. Don't start vomiting Plexus. Try and talk to them and not talk to a potential customer. You're talking to a person. They're not just someone who could buy Triplex. They're a person first, and you need to put that first when you're talking to them. So her first step was the ask questions. So she said these, and I never heard of it this way. Ask questions about them and discover their why and their Ford. So like the Ford as in car, but it stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So this could be like, Tristan, how's Josiah? His pictures are really cute. Where does he go to school? Or how's your job as a nurse? Like, do you like it? What kind of hours do you work? Like things that will get conversation going. Like, oh, like, well, you're not trying to like dig into their personal life, but you want to get a little bit of a sense of who they are. Recreation could be like, oh, do you have any hobbies? Or, oh, I saw you knitted this really pretty blanket. That's really cool. I always wanted to knit. I don't know. You could ask about knitting. I don't really want to knit, but if that means like to sew, trying to connect with someone, that's something. And then dreams would be like, oh, if you could go on vacation anywhere, where would it be? It might not come up in casual conversation, but if it does come up, it's an entryway, because someone says, I've always dreamed of going on like a tour of Europe, but I will never have the money for that. I'll be retired by the time I'll ever get the opportunity for that. And you could say, oh my gosh, one of these people I know, Jamie Mays, she's going on a trip to Rwanda this week because she's going on a mission trip, and she got that opportunity because of Plexus. That's something that it's an entrance, and it's something that you need to think about. Always have Plexus in the back of your mind is what she said, but always think about how to enter it into a conversation and how to bring it in naturally and not salesy. Like if I started a conversation with Tristan, and she didn't know anything about Plexus, I wouldn't just start it with, Jamie Mays is going on a trip to Rwanda because she's doing a mission trip funded by Plexus. That's not how I would start a conversation. But if I was talking about to her and she said she wants to go on a trip across the U.S. with her family, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. One of my friends is doing something similar as a mission trip. That's something that isn't in without being obvious about Plexus. And then the second step, share benefits. So this would be like talking about the trip that Jamie Mays is going on, talking about how I've been able to pay off loans, or how my mom has been able to do different, like her A1C went down. Those are the benefits that you're going to talk about, things that relate to them. Don't start talking about diabetes if they don't know what an A1C is. If they don't know what that is, it's not going to connect to them, and they're going to shut you down. Like they're going to get that like glazed over look that we've all seen whenever we talk to someone. And so always make sure like they relate to something, and it relates to something that they're interested in. And then the third step, answer questions. So she said this is the step that you're probably going to get rejected in. If there's any time, no one's going to shut you down when you're talking about your friend who's going on a mission trip. They're not, unless it's like an evil person, they're not going to be like, oh, that's terrible. That's an awful thing to do. No, they're going to accept that. But when you when you answer questions, this is the time you're going to get rejected. Or if you are going to get rejected, this would be the time that it would come up more often. So never take a no personally. It's not about you. It's something else. Something else in their mind is saying, I don't want to do this. It's not like, oh, that Amanda person. She's pretty awful. If that was the case, I probably wouldn't have been in a 10-minute conversation with them. I might have been, but realistically, that's not going to happen all the time. It's not about you. It's about something else in their life that they're not ready to face, whether it's health or wealth. They don't want it right now. So let that go, and that'd be the time where if it needs to end, it needs to end. That's where the conversation stops. Stop it. Don't try and keep pushing, because that's only going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And in the asking questions and answering questions, she mentioned chapter 1, page 2 in the Power of Network Marketing in our success kits. And she said that has a really good section for questions and for how to answer common questions, like how network marketing could be done and should be done, but rarely is. You can talk about that. You can talk about why Plexus says that and why we don't just accept whatever network marketing has become. We've made it a different type of network marketing. So 4th step, close the conversation. You can always, what she said to recommend is present Plexus as a plan B. And then eventually, if they're a rock star, it'll become their plan A. So you could say to someone, oh, this is an awesome side job. Pitch it as that. If it's like, if they're a person who loves their job, but they would like a couple extra dollars on the side, or they're unhealthy, you can be like, oh, there's no reason you have to sell it. There's no stock, no anything. It's just an awesome way to get wholesale prices. Okay, that's all that, if that's what that person needs, let that happen, because eventually they'll see the results and they'll need to turn around and promote it. But the closing would be that, oh, this is what it could be for you. Presenting what it could be and what you should, like what you would hope they would see with Plexus. And during the closing conversation, she said she always ends it with, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you feel about starting a Plexus journey? She is a person opportunity, and let's say they say it's an 8 or a 9. Don't push them. Say, okay, I'll show you my website. But if they say, oh, I'm at a 6, she always follows it with, what can I do to get you to a 10? Because there's always that little thing that would be inhibiting that. And realistically, you probably have a way to negate that. Because that could be like, oh, I don't think that, like for me, I don't think I'm old enough. I don't think people would respect that decision. Well, guess what? It's working for me now. So like you can always negate those little tiny things, whether it's, oh, I have to talk to my husband. Okay, cool. Talk to them, and then I'll talk to you tomorrow. Always set up that next time you're going to talk to them until it's at a 10. And so like those are the 4 steps, and she stressed those heavily because a lot of people do struggle with conversation and how to bring up Plexus naturally and not salesy. And I think the way Sheila was presenting it, if you adapt it to your own personality, like I'm not Sheila Medina, I'm not going to say it exactly like she says it, but for someone who is like her and who is a natural presenter like that, the way she does it probably works perfectly. But for me, I'll have to adapt it to my own personality, because if I presented it in that way, it wouldn't sound natural. It wouldn't be natural. It would be super robotic. And I would be like, people would be like, I don't know about her. That doesn't sound like Amanda. And that was another thing that was really stressed in our section, was to be authentic, because without authenticity, you're not going to be believable. If I presented everything like my mom does, people would be like, that's not her personality. We have very different personalities. While we're very similar in some aspects, we're not the same person. So the way I present Plexus and she presents it is 2 completely different things. So being authentic is super important, whether it's on Facebook and you're presenting or it's in person. Don't try and be something you're not, because people can see through it. You can put up a face, you can put up a shield, but people can always see through it. And then again, Rebecca Folks was the one who talked about that, and branding and how you present yourself on social media and how important social media is with your business, because if you're not reaching a maximum audience. If I did my day-to-day network, it's about 6 people. Like if I only come into contact with 6 people that I know, but with the power of Facebook, you can reach so many people that you wouldn't think of or you don't see on a normal basis. So that goes along with that being conversational, because it can be awkward being on Facebook Messenger, but as long as you're personable and you are yourself, people can see that and hear that and will read it in your voice. So those were the main takeaways that I had, other than like know your why. That was one of the big things that Brenda Martin talked about. And don't be fake with your why. Don't act like it's something you can, she's like, always dream big, but when you're presenting your why, you don't have to plan out the next 20 years. You don't have to be like, well, when I'm 25, I'm going to build a house. And when I'm 30, I'm going to do this, this, and this. You can list your goals with Plexus, but you don't have to be very grandiose about it. Like I can say that I want to be the youngest emerald in Plexus. People might not understand the magnitude of what that means at the moment, but when it comes true, I can say I've had this goal since day one and I fulfilled that goal, or I paid off all my student loans. You can bet on graduation day, I'm going to be walking across that stage and I'm going to say, I don't have any loans. Guess what? I said this from day one and I made it come true. And so your dreams, you have to have the belief, and you can't be like, maybe. I'll say it, but I don't actually believe it. The more you believe it, the more others will believe it. And you're always going to have naysayers. There's always going to be the person who says, that's not true. You're not going to do that. And you got to bless and release. You can't let that drive you, because the moment you start doubting yourself is the moment other people start doubting you. So that was the main thing from Brenda. And that's about it for me, I think.
Oh my goodness. I loved so much of that. I'm going to have to watch it again tomorrow because I got a little distracted by a 3-year-old. But what I loved about, you were talking about the different ways to speak to people and then how to like target them, right? With the communication, like the questions that bring them in. That's a perfect way, like a great example for myself as well, of how when we're reaching out to these people with our prospects, right? We're talking about doing 3 new people a day, reaching out cold contacts, 3 new people a day, and how it's really about being honest, having your integrity, being authentic in those ways of reaching out to them, making sure you're speaking to all those things. And as Sheila said, when you're reaching out to people the first time, don't spit Plexus all over them. Be real. Ask about the things that draw the conversation in. Loved that. I'm definitely going to be listening to this video again tomorrow in the car. All right, guys. There's my little thing saying we're almost out of time. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. Meg jumped on. Meg, do you have anything to add here? I don't even know if she's paying attention. Oh,
I'm sorry, I got Lexi crying in the background. But
all right. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing, Amanda did awesome, pretty much all my notes. The only thing that I wrote down that I even used myself is on Sheila Medina's part, when she's talking about talking to potential customers, well, and talking to them like a person than a customer, but addressing their concerns using the feel, felt, found. And that's all I wrote down, feel, felt, found. And when somebody tells me what their concern is with trying Plexus or, giving it a try, whatever. One example just from a few days ago, a girl told me, well, I don't know if I can afford it right now. And I'm like, I know exactly how you feel. Like, as a single mom, I don't get any support. Like, trying this was a risk for me. And I totally intended on using the 60-day money-back guarantee. And I felt that that was my safety net, that if it wouldn't work, that was going to be my answer. But I found that once I tried Plexus, within the first week, my cravings were already drastically changing. And at the end of the month, I was spending $200 less in groceries than I was before Plexus. So it's actually saving me money by using it. And she was like, well, I'll definitely have to try that on my next paycheck, or, you know, whatever it was. And so now I use that all the time.
Yes, I use the feel, felt, found method all the time, because you're addressing their concerns, you're relating to their concerns, but you're also telling them what you found. And we've talked about this multiple times, but your truth is your truth. No one can ever dispute your truth or tell you that your truth is wrong. So love the feel, felt, found method. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Meg.
Yep.
All right, guys, I'm going to end this recording. We got a couple more minutes for questions, and then we're going to jump on over to our book club. So we will see you guys next week. Join us if you missed us tonight and you don't know what I'm talking about with book club. We're going to be meeting every Tuesday at 9 o'clock to go over a book. We're almost done with our current book. We're going to talk about it this week and next week, and then we'll be starting on a new book, which we'll be voting on. So if you want to get in on book club and you want to know a little bit more about what we're doing, reach out to me or reach out to your upline and kind of ask. I know people have talked about finances being an issue. I hear y'all. And so what I would recommend is going to your library. Most of your libraries have these self-development books that you can rent or that you can check out for free. And if there's a book you really want to read at your local library, submit it for us to see if maybe that's the one that we can do next week. All right, guys, have a great week. Make sure you're taking advantage of the $19.99 sign-on fee that ends on Thursday. Here comes my terror. Amazing, amazing opportunities to be growing your team and to be spreading that, brain's dead, that present or that joy of health and wellness. Y'all have a great night.